Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar on Blueprint for Sustainability, Creating Greener Buildings and Workflows. A couple quick reminders before we start. This webinar will be recorded and emailed out to you within a few days. It will also be available in our video library on the Cemetery website and on our YouTube channels. At the end, we will have a QA session. If you have any questions during our presentation, please type them into the QA section box at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to share a little bit about Cemetery. We create and provide technology solutions and services for design, engineering, construction, owners, and manufacturing businesses. We empower people to work smarter for a better future by ensuring they have access to the expertise and technology they need to improve their performance and sustainability. Cemetery is also a Bluebeam Platinum partner, and we are very proud of it. Our long experience of working with Bluebeam customers has given us insight into their needs and requirements, leading to opportunities to provide training on how to optimize your digital workflow. So we'll now get to the fun part, and I will let Josh introduce himself, and he's going to take it from here.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. And welcome, everybody. My name is Josh Gianfrido, and I'm a Strategic Implementation Manager here at Cemetery. In this role, I provide technical seminars, software training, and project mentoring centered around BIM adoption. Prior to joining Cemetery, I worked as a structural design engineer on commercial, residential, and institutional projects here in the Northeast US. Welcome, everybody, again. Today, we're going to focus our discussion and technical demonstration around adopting a blueprint for sustainability by creating greener buildings. We define green building, also called sustainable design or green construction, as construction that relies on environmentally responsible and resource-efficient materials and processes to reduce the impact on the natural environment and human health. Now, when done right, green construction triggers many benefits, including reducing carbon emissions, conserving resources, promoting public health, as well as offering economic benefits. And we want your firm to be positioned to reap those benefits. That's because by most of today's metrics, climate change is worsening. And with that, scientists expect global temperatures to continue to rise and expect more extreme and dangerous weather events as a result. That's the bad news. The good news is that the building and construction industry can make a substantial impact in efforts to minimize greenhouse gas emissions and cut energy consumption. That's because our industry currently contributes a whopping 37% to the world's energy-related emissions, as reported in a recent UN study, giving us tremendous room for reductions. What's more, interest in green buildings from regulators, investors, and consumers is growing. The green buildings industry is projected to grow to 1.3 trillion by 2030, a 138% increase from 2021. So to prepare your firm to be able to capture those increases, we want to share 4 different ways that Bluebeam Revu can help transform your architecture, engineering, or construction business by making it more sustainable. Bluebeam software offers improved collaboration, streamlined processes to save waste, processes to minimize rework and reduce risk, as well as technology that improves staff engagement and retention. Now, before we dive into a live demonstration, a quick recap of what Revu is. Bluebeam Revu is a purpose-built PDF editing software with tools and workflows designed specifically for our industry. Originally introduced in 2002, it has since grown to be the leading PDF software used by the AECO industry. And with over 2 million worldwide users in over 130 countries, new adopters can be assured that there is a support system in place to help their transition to a digital workflow. Typically, when we talk about PDF files, we often include metadata, hyperlinks, bookmarks, file attachments, images, and spaces without realizing their effect on the PDF file. The benefit of using Bluebeam Revu as your PDF editor is that you can harness and control all of this data. And I plan to show you some of those tools in today's live demo, including tools for navigating PDF files, tools for marking up PDFs and how to customize the tool chest, the use of profiles and customizing the user interface, the power of the markups list and ways to generate reports, Bluebeam's built-in automation for searching files, comparing documents, and generating interactive forms. And lastly, how to work collaboratively in the cloud with Studio. So let's jump into our live demonstration. All right, so I've pulled open Bluebeam and I have a couple files already. First, we want to show the ease of navigating in a Bluebeam PDF. So we can navigate along the bottom of our screen to different pages. We can also change to a scrolling page mode where we're able to now scroll through the document. One of the automations that shows up when you print from Revit is that your section heads will become hyperlinks. So if we look at these section cuts, you'll see that the icon has changed. And if I click that, it'll take me to this page. I can also use the little icons on the side of each level to take me to the floor plans. And so navigating around your PDF file is quite easy. You'll notice on my thumbnails, the pages are currently numbered 1 through 45. If I'd like to have these pages numbered based on the sheet number, it's just a couple clicks to make that happen. We would come under here for new labels, choose a page region and select that region. Find the area of our sheet numbers and highlight that cell. And we can then tell it to perform this operation on all pages. And if you look here on my thumbnails, all of these are now renumbered to their actual sheet number. And if I want to navigate with that, I can do that as well, A502, and it'll take me to that page. And this also works well when navigating in 3D files. So we have a 3D PDF file. These are able to be generated from Revit. Once you have Bluebeam installed, you'll have a Bluebeam plugin that will show up inside of Revit, and you can create 3D PDF files right from the software. Once created and you're inside of Bluebeam, you'll be able to navigate, orbit, as well as control the visibility graphics with different styles. And you can even section box and chop into the model if you'd like to. So we can section box the model. And I mentioned metadata. If we click on any of the objects located in this 3D PDF, we will see all of the metadata associated with that object that came out of Revit. So all of that smart information is maintained. And we can sort by either the name of the parameter or by the value of the parameters. So as you can see, navigating documents is a breeze with Bluebeam. Let's take a look at some of our markup tools. So Bluebeam has markup tools available either along the ribbon or in the tool chest. And you can work in either location. And we can quickly add text boxes. And make highlighted markups. Now with the highlighter, if you highlight when it looks like a pen, it'll just be a free-form highlighter. If you go over top of comments, it'll change to a text icon. And if you highlight with that, it'll highlight right on the text and it'll bring that text into your markups list. We have a pen tool, which is great for freehand drawing. So if I wanted to sign this, I can use that. And we have a line tool. Now in this case, I'm going to go here and turn on my snapping to content, which will allow it to snap to the PDF. And I can grab my line tool, click once, hold shift, click again, and it'll build a nice straight line. We can do the same type of thing for the arrow tool. Click once, hold shift, click again, and then we can build an arrow. And lastly, and next, I'll show the arc tool. Again, click here, click there, and quickly can draw arcs. Now let's talk a little bit about customizing tools. So if we wanted to draw a polyline tool, we can go ahead and grab our polyline command. We'll click once here. Oops, sorry. Let me do that again. And we'll double click when we're done. Now to make it look like this side, we'll switch the color of that line over to our black style. And if we wanted to add this as a tool within our tool chest, we could grab that tool from the recent tools and drag it to one of our other tool chests. Now you'll notice if I draw a polyline again, it's going to be a red line like the original was. So if I want to make the black line my default, I can select one of my polylines, right click on it, and I can say set as default. Now when I draw the polyline again, it will be the same style of the last one, the black line style. All right, moving on, we have tools for dimensioning objects. Or we could actually put in a dimension there. And we have the ability to draw rectangles and squares with the same command. The way you switch from a rectangle to a square is you hold your shift key. So I can draw a rectangle over here, or I can hold my shift key and draw a square. And the same for ellipse and circle. You use the same command. Holding shift is how you change between the two. So we can click, hold, and drag and build an ellipse, or I can hold shift and we can draw a perfect circle. The polygon tool is great if you want to build a shape that's not a square or a circle, but you wouldn't want to fill it in when you're done. So we can grab the polygon tool and we can click here. We'll click here. We'll click here. Hold shift whenever you want a straight line. And when you're at the second to last point, which this one will be, you'll double click. And that will create the shape. And now if we want to, we could fill the shape in. Maybe we want to have it filled in red and be the highlighter red, which will send it to the back. And last markup tool I'll show is how you can build custom tools. So we can take multiple tools and we can go ahead and build them into a custom tool. So I'll start with my ellipse tool, holding shift so that it makes a circle. I'll next grab my text box tool and place that in here. Type in the word grid. I'll now grab my line command and draw a line from the grid, bubble down. If I'd like this to look like a grid line, I can change its style over to a center line. And if I want everything to be in a different color scheme, I can select them and change the color. Maybe we want the grid bubble to be gray. So we'll switch everything into a gray color. And now to make this a tool that I can use, we're going to select it, right click on it, and group these objects. And now in my recent tools, I now have a grid command or a grid tool that I can use. Now I want to go ahead and create a custom tool set that I'll be able to place this in. And so I'm going to go to my tool chest area. I'm going to go to manage tool sets, and I'm going to create a new tool set. And I'll just use my initials for this. And we'll okay to that. And actually, let me go back in there just briefly. I'm going to move this up in the list so you'll see it easier. It'll pop up here on my list. We'll say okay to that. And then if I want to save this permanently, I can click, hold, and drag that tool down into my JAG tools. And now I have a new grid tool that I can use anytime on any drawing that I need it on. All right, speaking of other custom tools, let's look at our stamps commands. So we do have stamp commands. And if we want to have some of our out-of-the-box stamps, we have ones like this one for approved. And if you want to place an approved stamp, you can grab that command and click, and it'll place the stamp. The other way you can place a stamp is to draw the size of the stamp. So I can go to the same approved stamp, and I can do click, hold, and drag, and I can change the size of the stamp. I can make it really small, or I can make it really large if I wanted to. I can also create stamps, or I can use stamps that have interactive text in them. So you'll see that we can go to a draft print stamp, and we can grab the draft print and place that stamp here. And this is interactive where it knows today's date and today's time. So I'd like to show you how you can quickly build a stamp similar to that. If you go to your stamps command, you'll go to the create stamp. And I'll name the stamp here for release. I'll make this stamp 2 inches by a 1/2 inch. And we'll accept the rest of the defaults. Now I'm on a stamp editing palette, and I can use any of my markup tools to build my stamp. So I'm going to start with my text box, and we'll say for release. Now, in order to get the dynamic text for the date and the time, if you start typing another text box, you'll see the dynamic box opens, and you can choose some of the dynamic text. So in this case, I'm going to say date. And I'll make another text box, and I'll make this one my name. So I'll say user. And now we'll want to size these up. So I'm going to shrink this font down a little bit. And we'll want to center everything. So we'll get that centered. Now I can place that here on the palette. And we'll do the same for this one. Shrink this font down. And for this one, we'll leave the font there. But we'll center it. All right, and then we'll save that and go back to our stamps page, and that'll be available in our stamps list now. And here's our new for release stamp that we can now place as needed. Now, another way to obtain custom stamps is from Bluebeam directly. If you go on the web and you Google the Revu custom libraries, is the easiest way to find it. It'll take you to this Bluebeam support page. And on there, they have some custom stamps that you can download. By clicking on them, it'll download it to your machine. It's a zipped file, so you'll need to unzip it. Once unzipped, you'll be able to import that file or that stamp in and use it as a custom stamp. So we would go under the stamps and we would use the import stamp option. And in this case, I believe it's on my desktop. And here we go, submittal review, and we'll use this one. So now that should be imported, and here's that stamp. And you'll see when you place this one, it's actually a interactive stamp where it prompts you with a fill in the blank type message. So we'll say it's a revised, we'll put the project information, submittal number, and spec number. And you'll see that that stamp has now filled itself in with that information. All right, let's move on to the profiles. So when working in Bluebeam, from time to time, the workflow that you're working on you may desire to have a different look to your screen in order to facilitate the workflow that you're about to start. So if we want to work on what we call punch lists or field issues, we have a profile for that. If we want to work on taking off measurements, we have a profile for that. So let me try to reopen these. I'm not sure why they're not coming up. There we go. All right. To switch your profile in Bluebeam, you go to the Review button, Profiles, and here are the built-in profiles. I won't be showing it in the demo, but you can also create your own custom profile if you want to and save that. But for us, let's go ahead and for the punch list, let's switch to our field issues profile. And with that, you'll notice the tool chest has a lot of new tools in it. So these will be the punch list items that I use. The rooms that you see in purple have been created. So in Bluebeam, we call them spaces. Inside of Revit, we call them rooms. They are the same thing. If you want to see what they are, we have our spaces panel, and this will show you the different spaces that are available. This just helps when you get into the markups list to organize where these issues were happening at. So again, if you wanted to add issues, you can select one of these. In this case, it's saying the wall finish is not smooth, and then you place it inside of the rooms that are applicable. We can grab some of these other ones. This one says trim the base. We can place these. We can have other issues. Maybe we have some issues, you know, to do with lighting. This one's saying that the sconce isn't level, so we can place that one. And as you do that, it's creating a report at the bottom in your markups list. And you can see it's even associating each one of these issues with your space that their issues contained in. One of the other things you can do is if there's an issue that you would like to document more, you can select your punch mark, right click on it and choose to capture. This is capturing an image. You can choose to capture that image from your camera. So you can imagine if you're with an iPad live in the field, you can just snap the image there. Or if it's already uploaded on your computer, like in my case, you can say from file, and then you can go to any image that you would like to load, and you can add that image into this markup. So maybe we had a wall issue, we can add this issue, and it doesn't put the large image on the PDF for you. It puts this small camera icon on the PDF, so you're not blocking the PDF. If you run the PDF report, then the image will show. If you want to see the image, you click the little camera icon and the image pops up. And you can also have more than one image. If you had more than one image, these arrows would be usable. In my case, they're not because I only have one image right now. And then from this window, you can add more images from files or add more images from camera, right from this dialog. So that's capturing an image as part of your markup. Then the other thing you would do with the markups list when you're working with Punch is to use the statuses. So once this is starting to be worked on, you can right click on this, set the status under issues. Maybe this is an open issue, and you'll notice that it doesn't really affect it. But if I go and I right click and I set the status and I say that it's pending, now you'll see it turns orange automatically. And if I actually complete the work, I can set the status then as closed, and you'll see it turns green as showing that it's all set. And each of those has been tracked through my markups list. Another profile that we use from time to time is our measurements profile or our takeoff profile. So if you want to take live measurements of a PDF, we can do that. And one of the profiles that we have available to use that helps facilitate that is the one here called quantity takeoff. So we can switch over to that. You'll see my icons change. I have more measurement tools now. And step one, whenever doing measurements, is you want to check under the measurement panel that your scale is correct. So right now, the preset scale is 1/4 inch per foot. And looking at my drawing, it looks like my drawing is set up as 1/8 inch per foot. So I'm going to go into my preset dropdown, choose my 1/8 inch per foot scale. And now I'm going to be able to use my measurement tools. So just as a proof of concept, I'll take my length tool. I'll measure from this box or this point to this point, and I'm getting that same 16 feet. If I had left the scale at 1/4 inch as we started, you'll see this shows up as 8 feet, which is not correct. So that's why you want to make sure your scale is accurate, because this is measuring based on scale. Now that we know that the measurements are correct, we can go ahead and zoom into an area where maybe there is a missing measurement, and we can find out what's the width of this lobby here. Or maybe we're checking for ADA compliance and we want to make sure that this bathroom stall is the 5 feet it needs to be. So we have length measurements, we have area measurements. If you'd like to know the area of a room, I'll start off with one that's sort of rectangular, and then I can move over to one that isn't. So here's one that's sort of rectangular, and we can take the area of this room. If I need to move this, I can hover, shift, click, drag. No. Hover, shift, click, drag. There we go. I can move that little label if I need to, but now we found the area of that room. If you get into a room that isn't a perfect rectangle, not a problem. What you do instead of click and drag is you click multiple times. So I'm clicking each of these vertices. I'm going to double click here. And then for this corner, I'm going to escape. I'm going to right click on that corner and I'm going to say convert to an arc. And now that'll be a little more of a curve. I can adjust that curve as needed. And now I get the square footage of this irregularly shaped room. And we have measurement tools for taking, like I said, lengths, areas. You can do angles, volumes, perimeters. Let me show you maybe a perimeter tool. So if I wanted to know the outside shape of this, I can click each one of these spots and then double click here. And that gives me the perimeter 157.2. Maybe I needed to know how much baseboard to order for this open office. Now I know how much. Now, when we get into irregularly shaped objects, like maybe this weird shaped column chase, we have another option that we can use, which is called our dynamic fill or our dynamic measurements. So I'm going to do my dynamic fill using first my dynamic icon down here. That'll bring up my dynamic dialog box. To place the fill, I'll use the fill bucket. I'll click, hold, and I'll just wait as it fills in. And now that the shape is defined, I have the choice here of what I want to create. Do I want to build a space out of this? Do I want to build a polygon? Do I want the area, the perimeter plus all the sides, just the total perimeter, or the volume? I'm going to say, give me the area and the perimeter. And with those, I click apply. And now in this irregular shape, it's calculated the square footage area and the total length perimeter without me having to define these weird boundaries. So dynamic fill is a great way to do your measurements if you need to do them in irregular places. All right. All of these things we've been showing have been filling into the markups list. And the markups list is the piece where you can then generate a report and capture all of that data. The report can be in two different ways, or well, I guess it's four different ways really. And so the markups list is obtained by either clicking the little button here or by finding the bar at the bottom of your screen and click, hold, and drag to move it up. I'm also going to switch back for the rest of the demo into the Revu Advanced profile that I started with. So the markups list, again, is all the metadata of all of the markups you've created. You're able to filter, sort. You can just turn off markups. If you want to print a clean set with no markups, you can click the little eyeball here, make your print. And then if you want them back, you can click that. You can control which columns you see by clicking the markups list button. And under columns, the ones with check marks are checked on. The ones without check marks are not checked on. If you would like to check them on, you can select them and they'll turn on. There are ways to create custom columns. If that is an interest of you, you would go to Manage Columns, and under Custom Columns, you can add in custom columns. These could be used for calculating that type of stuff. I mentioned sorting. So if you want to sort, you would click the header of any of these columns. So let's say we want to sort by author. I'll click the author header, and now each one of these groups is the author. They're grouped by author now. And I can do it by date. So we can slide this over and I can sort by date. And if you click it again, it goes ascending and descending. We can also then sort the list, or they call it filtering the list. So if you turn on filtering, then you can decide what you want to filter out. So let's say we only want to see one author. I can pick under all, and I can pick the author I want to see, maybe J. Popeil. And now that's the only set of markups that are in the list. And if you notice on the plan, some of my markups have grayed out. So any of the ones that were filtered out are now gray to tell me that they're no longer live and active in this because of the filter. If I want them back, I can unfilter and everything comes back. If I refilter, then again, those ones are gray. If I want additional items, I can click that and I can add more pieces to my filter. So now I've done two authors, not just one. And we can see there's the Popeil and the East Sochonnet. And then I started mentioning that we can build reports. So the reports are generated from this summary button. And I mentioned there are, I said two, but there's really four. It's probably closer to three because PDF and print are basically the same, but you can export to CSV. So if you'd like to use this data in Excel, you can make an Excel file. If you'd like to use this for or on the web, you can use XML. If you'd like to have just a report, a printed report, you can print a PDF or print to your printer directly. So I'm going to do a PDF summary. Under columns, this is where you decide what information or what columns you want in the report. You can click on this button to put all the data. Under filtering and sorting, you can decide if there's certain stuff you want in or out of the report. In this case, they're only filtering by certain authors because we've already filtered down here. I can undo that and just say, give me all. And then how do you want it to sort? I'll say sort by the subject. So those were some of these headers over here. And then how do you want to output the report? So this is where it's going to save it at and what name it's going to use and how it's going to look. So we'll say that we want a large thumbnail. And I like to bump this number up as well. This is how much around the thumbnail you get to see. So the bigger the number, the more you see. All of these settings can be saved and reloaded next time. If you have a certain setting that you use for your company all the time, save that and then reload it as you need to. So we'll go ahead and create the report, and that's processing now. And here is the 21-page report of all of our markups. And it also shows the image of where it is and provides all of the details for that markup. All right, let's move on to section 5, Bluebeam automation. So we'll have OCR, forms, and visual searches, and then I'll do the part D after. So Bluebeam has some powerful automation built in, and we're going to go through a few of those different automation workflows right now. The first one is what we call OCR, which stands for optical character recognition. You'll notice that this file is a scanned file, or at the minimum came out of AutoCAD. It's definitely not a Revit looking file. And if I were to try to search right now in this file for something like a word that we can see up here, there's the word general. I'll search for that. And I can do it caps locked or not, but let's just do it caps locked. And if I go to search, it's finding one set. And if I click on that, it's finding it down here on this stamp, but it's not finding it up in here. So what you can do if you have a scan document or maybe an older CAD document is you can go under document and you can run what we call OCR, or optical character recognition. And this allows Bluebeam to scan your documents and to come back and have turned the scanned or non-readable text into actual editable, searchable text. So we'll say, okay, it'll run through, it'll do its conversion. And you can do these on large file sets. You can even do this on an entire folder if you want to. And with that done, if I search for general again, you'll see that I have more results. And if I go to these, it's finding the ones up in this area. So if I go to that one, it's a little off on where it highlights it, but it found where it is. So OCR is an automated optical character recognition within Bluebeam. Another automation we have is form creation. So if you've ever had one of those forms where you can just click in the cells and tab through them, Bluebeam can generate those types of forms. Under tools and under forms, we can go to automatically create the forms. It'll run through and it'll create them for us. Now to use it, and you can even see over here what forms or what cells it built. This is smart enough that it even reads the document and made a date cell here versus just a plain text cell in the other locations. To use this, you need to save it. So let me do a file save as. And I'll probably put the word interactive, since it's now interactive. And this is what I meant. You can now tab in here and you can type. So if I try to type something that's not the date, it'll tell me, sorry, this is a date field. Please give me a date. So that's great. So we can try a date. That worked. And RFI, this is just text. And you can see here, I'm using my tab key to bounce through the form. So the from, the to, and so forth. So that you saw was one click and I was able to create this automatic form. There are some other powers that come with that. When you're in forms, you can take the data and export it out. So if you wanted to have a bunch of your employees fill out the form and give it to you, you can then export all that data, and then maybe it's in Excel so you can run graphs and tables and whatnot. So there are some additional powers to this, but the automation you see is very quick and very easy. And another piece of automation I want to show is also to do with searching, but it's not just searching just words, which of course, like we did with general, we can do. I can type the word storage and search that, and it'll find all the locations for storage. But another great thing that Bluebeam offers is the ability to search visually for objects within the file. So let's say I'm doing estimating and I want to count how many sinks I have in my building. I can go to this object or this tool, visual search. And the way you do a visual search is the way you define the search term is with this get rectangle. So I'll use get rectangle, click, hold, and drag a rectangle around my sink. I'll make sure that my search for multiple rotations is on, because I saw already that there are some twisted at a different angle. And then I'll run the search. And this will go through and it finds the 5 sinks that I have in the document. But more importantly, I can now count these. So I can check this button on. I can go to the lightning bolt and I can say, apply a count for the checked. This is going on to my other screen. Sorry, I'm going to shrink this for a second. There it is. So I'll put the check mark. And now you'll see a sync or a check mark on each of my syncs. So we have one there, one there, one there, one there, and one there. And if we look inside, we see that we have 5 syncs counted. And if I wanted to really mark this as syncs, I can right click on this and I can put a reply and I can type in the word syncs. And now we see that this count measurement is for the syncs. All right, so the last piece of automation I'll show is how we can compare documents. So let me close out of these and let me open up some of my comparing document files. All right, so when we compare documents, we have 2 different ways that we can do that in Bluebeam. We have under document, we have our compare documents, and we also have overlay pages. And I'll show you what both of these do. So I'll start with compare documents, and this will take document 1 and document 2 and compare them and put clouds around the differences. And open up this split screen like you see, so where I can zoom in on one and it zooms in on the other one. And we can see the differences there. We added a revision and we've updated this area by adding in some extra rooms. It's so detailed that it can pick up that these 2 documents were printed a few minutes apart. So all the differences between these documents get highlighted, and notice it's created a 3rd document called difference. I can save this, email this to colleagues and whatnot. So that's comparing documents type 1. Comparing documents type 2, let me close out of these, and I'll open up the Rev 2 document, is what we call overlay pages. And if you've ever worked with where there's a light table that you can shine through a document, that's sort of what this does in a digital way. So we'll say overlay pages. I'll have to add in that other page, which will be my Rev 2. And now I have Rev 1 will be anything in red. Rev 2 will be anything in green. Anywhere where they correspond, we'll see the standard black PDF font. So we'll say okay. And again, it's made a new document. I can save this and email this as needed. And we can, again, anything on Rev 2 is green. Anything from Rev 1 only is red. And anywhere where the revs kind of overlap, you'll see the old and the new kind of blended together. So this is the overlay pages for comparing documents. All right, the last thing I want to show in my technical demonstration is our cloud tools, mainly the Studio tool. So if you want to work remotely in the cloud, you have Studio. And I'm going to focus on Studio Sessions today. We also have a Studio Projects tool, but let's look at Studio Sessions. This is the live real-time collaboration tool built within Bluebeam. To start a new session, you hit the plus sign here and then say new session, and you can name it. If you had files that you wanted to add, you can add those now, which I do. So I'll add files. We'll go to our data set and add in our Studio files. Then you have, as the user or as the creator of this session, you have what options you want to set for the permissions for other users. If I want other users to add documents, I can set that up. If I want people to only be able to join with an email address, in other words, I have to invite them, I would leave this checked on. If I want them to be able to join, with any, as long as they have my 9-digit number of my session, then I can uncheck this and then anyone can join with that code. I'm going to leave it checked on. I never have a session expire in the real world, but since I'm doing this just for class, I'm going to have it expire on Friday. So that's how you create the session. Now, if I wanted to invite users, I have another option to do that here. I can go into and paste their names into here and invite them, or I can have groups set up ahead of time and invite my whole groups. The way you set groups up is, I'll show you in a second. I'll cancel out of here. If you wanted to set up groups, you go under the Studio Sessions Management or Properties tool, which is this guy. So if you go into there, you'll see under Permissions, you can build custom groups here. So you go to Create New Group and you build your groups up. Once you have your groups, then you can have them, you can invite people, or sorry, you can set up their permissions based on the groups. So the groups set up permissions, basically. The attendees, you can individually invite attendees with the plus sign, or you can invite them by group if you've already set those groups up. If you ever need to change any of your permissions as the creator of the session, you can change any of these as you need. And if you ever wanted to make a session expire under general, you can do that as well. So this is the session. If I wanted to open the document, I would click on this document button here, and it will open up the PDF. And then once you're inside the session, everything else is just normal Bluebeam. You take your normal markups, you do the normal work that you do. And the big difference there, though, is that you can have more than one person in this at a time. That's not how it's set up in my demo, but you can have more than one attendee in here, all working together, all working on the live performance. All right. So I hoped everyone enjoyed seeing Revu in action. And by the volume of tools that I showed in that technical demo, I hope that Revu's ease of use is apparent. So to recap a little bit of what we saw tools for navigating and for navigating 2 and 3D PDF files. We saw the extensive markup tools and how to save custom tools. We saw how to use custom profiles, whether that's for field issues or for measurements, and the power of changing the user interface. We saw the power of the markups list and how you can export the data and sort and filter the data. We saw the automation within Bluebeam for things like searching and generating automatic forms. And then lastly, we saw the cloud tools where you can collaborate in live time with your project partners. So at Symmetry, we know in pursuit of sustainable design, the pressure for digital transformation has been amplified, and you need to respond with flexibility. And since working remotely is not unique in today's world, keeping control over self-service options is crucial. You also need data-driven business practices that are secure, especially with increasing information security standards. And with regards to reducing costs, there's a scarcity of skilled labor, changing demographics, and changing project logistics. As a result, technology and solution providers need to be more innovative to overcome these challenges and provide a competitive advantage to their customers. Bluebeam is doing this. How? By offering 3 different levels to purchase Revu at. For a high-level overview of the plans, starting with Revu Basics, you'll have the essential tools for marking up and managing your AECO office and project documents. With Revu Core, you'll have more tools for managing and collaborating on small and mid-sized projects. Core includes all the features of Revu Basics, plus real-time collaboration via Studio directly within Revu. And Revu Complete is the most comprehensive plan. It has everything you need to manage and optimize complex AECO projects at scale. You will have all of the Revu Basics and Core features, plus advanced Bluebeam functionality. Now, before we close, I'd like to share some feedback we've received from clients Ellis Dawn and Chandos Construction, highlighting the results of their recent digital transformations. Jane from Ellis Dawn said, knowledge, awareness, and education are a big part of the whole exercise here. To build that library of information about opportunities and ways to reach net zero, their team is focused on 3 key areas: business operations, material procurement, and the built environment. Meanwhile, Lim from Chandos Construction told us, when working with project owners, encouraging green building practices often comes down to simply asking and educating, like suggesting a greener concrete option. A lot of it is down to baselining and educating, finding ways to say, okay, this is still what makes sense, but we can do this other thing here that keeps bringing sustainable incentives forward. So if you're ready to partner with Symmetry and make the transition to a digital workflow, some best practices for Bluebeam adoption include setting up a pilot group. These will be your early adopters and will help set up your PDF standards. Once this group has worked through a project and sets up the company standards, building a library of markup tools that are standardized across the firm would be your next step. And then lastly, with the adoption of Studio, remote work is streamlined, allowing one source of truth for all your plan sets. And as you're looking for ways to make your digital transformation easier and faster, you can rely on Symmetry's consulting services team for full implementation and training assistance. We've supported clients all over the world in establishing best practices for plan review, navigating the challenges of technology adoption across multiple departments, and shortening timelines for digital uptake, leading to more sustainable designs and a higher return on investment for our clients. So whether you're new to Bluebeam Revu or have been using it for years, we have the right offering to help you deliver a best-in-class service to your clients. If you'd like more information on our services, you can give us a call at the number on the screen or respond to the poll that we'll hold at the end of this webinar. And with that, we'll open it up if there are any questions.
Josh, we had one question that says, can you tell me what programming language custom stamps are created using?
Yeah, so the programming language for custom stamps, and this is also the programming language if you wanted to customize any of those interactive forms we saw, it's done with JavaScript.
Okay. And then it's thank you for showing studio sessions today. Can you explain the difference between studio sessions and studio projects?
Yes. So let me actually start with the similarities. So both are cloud offerings and both allow access to your PDF files remotely. Where they differ is studio projects is where you would store your files in a cloud location, and that could be any files actually with projects, and you can access them anywhere, but you can only have one person editing them in real time. So you can almost think of it like more like a Dropbox type location. In Sessions, if you upload PDF files, and Sessions is only PDF files, you get to work with them in real time, possibly with multiple team members, all in the same file together, all with editing capability, all working together. So I guess as a recap, projects, you can think of it, like I said, like Dropbox or a remote server, or maybe even like an FTP site where you can easily store files. While Studio Sessions is the real-time collaboration tools, similar to Revit's Workshare and Central models, where you can have multiple people in there at the same time. And it's been my experience, my workflow has tended to lean more towards Studio Sessions, that real-time collaboration tool. And so that's why I ended up demonstrating that one.
Great. Thank you. Those are our questions.
Awesome.
Perfect. So if anyone would like to connect with us, please visit our website or follow us on LinkedIn.